once again I find myself in this position of needing a last-minute costume. I don't know how I keep doing this to myself, but here we are again. Welcome back. I've got a costume party at the end of this week that the theme is space. And the minute I heard this, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. See, around this house, we're not a Star Wars family or a Star Trek family. No, we had to be complicated. We are a Stargate family. And because of that, we've always talked about making, SG-1 cosplays, just never gotten around to it. Now I have an excuse. I don't have to record any books this week, so I've got an entire week to make a costume for this party. Now, I have a lot of the things already for this costume that might not be perfect, but they're sort of close enough. And I know where I can source pretty much everything else. But I feel like I need something to sell this costume, something to really put it over the top, a real kind of crown jewel for it. And on that note, let's head to the archives and see what we can do. Is there any more iconic weapon from Stargate SG-1 than the Zat gun? Not that. Or that. You know what? We're sticking with the Zat gun, okay? Now, iconic though it might be, the Zat gun might be one of the silliest props in all of sci-fi history, for reasons that are, well, partially obvious.
If you see it in reality, it's a penis.
I mean, come on, 1 shot stuns, 2 shots kills? Like, what is the timing on that? Like, how long do you have to wait before shot 2 becomes shot 1 again and you just end up stunned? You know what, we're getting off track. What we need to get this project started is a 3D model. So I went to Thingiverse and found a model that I like by someone called Industrial D, which feels a little on the nose for the Zat gun, but whatever. We just have to print it, sand the pieces, assemble the whole thing, paint the whole thing, and make the holster. So while the 3D printer does its thing and we have a couple of days to wait, I think we'll move on to the easy part, the costume. Now in the actual show, the SG-1 costumes were 2 pieces, cargo pants and a matching jacket. I could do that, but actually I kind of already have this black flight suit that I think will be pretty perfect even though it's all 1 piece. So I think I'm going to use that, minus a lot of that cat hair. I'll get that off first. The good thing about this, other than the fact that I already have it, is that all I need are patches from Etsy, and those are easy to find. So I got these patches off of Etsy from a store called Intergalactic Trading Company, and I really recommend them if you need some SG-1 patches. They came out great. Now these patches already come with the iron-on adhesive on the back, which I could just go ahead and stick on and be done with it, but I actually use this flight suit for other costumes too, so I don't really want this to be a permanent bond. So I decided to just go ahead and sew some Velcro onto both the flight suit and the patches. I also went ahead and put the iron to the Velcro, which was probably completely unnecessary, but, belts and suspenders.
How many in your wing?
Oh, hey. So the patches turned out pretty good. They look real nice on the flight suit. I think this will look good. Unfortunately, though, it's going to be a while before the 3D printer's done with the Zat gun model. So, sort of seemed like there was only one thing to do. This is a good one.
Odds of taking out a ship like this with 4 gliders and maybe a shuttle.
Now that the 3D printer is done printing all the pieces, we can start assembling. One of the reasons I opted for this particular 3D model is because it was sliced into multiple sections to make it easier for me to print it. The only problem with that is that now I have to glue all those pieces together without getting them misaligned. This got even harder with the cheap super glue I was using, which made the parts all slippery. But a little careful clamping later, and I managed to get all the halves put together into Zat gun thirds that definitely do not resemble anything dirty. Before I did the final assembly, I thought now would be a good time to get all my sanding and priming out of the way while I could still easily reach into all the nooks and crannies on this thing. And this brings me to the real MVP of this build. It's a foot sander. So the recommendation for this came from Michaela at Prop Shop, and this bad boy cut down on the sanding time of this project by at least half and gave me way better results than I would have ever had the patience to achieve by hand. Plus, you can make replacement sanding discs in any grit you want with just a little double-sided foam tape. So thanks again to Michaela at Prop Shop for sharing this wisdom, and if you haven't yet, you should definitely check out her channel. She makes fantastic Star Wars droid builds that are just so cool. For the moment though, we should check back in on that poor sod and see how the sanding is going. Well, looks like he's through the first round and onto a few coats of filler primer and more sanding in between. Oh, look at him. Poor little dust-covered dummy. Once he's done with that, we'll attach the thirds together and hide the seam with a little more filler primer, which actually brings us to our next challenge. So the Zat guns are primed and ready to be painted, but before I actually get to that, before I get a nice coat of paint on them and then start messing them up, I want to move on to the holster. Now, I don't have the holster for this, but I need some way to put it on the actual costume because this is the selling point. I mean, penis gun though it might be, this is the selling point. So I gotta find some way of like having this on the costume in a way that still kind of shows off the Zat gun, but also keeps it from falling on the floor. I think I have an idea. And that is this. I found this vest on Amazon, and it actually comes with a bunch of detachable pockets and pouches that I don't really need for this costume, and I was just gonna get rid of anyway. But while I was looking at them, I realized that I might just be able to modify this pouch that's supposed to hold ammo clips. The plan is to rip out the seams between the little pockets and at the bottom, and hopefully turn it into something that will be just big enough to hug the Zat gun, but just small enough to keep it from falling through. It's almost like I know what I'm doing. I mean, I don't, but if you squint your eyes and tilt your head, it's almost like I planned it this way the whole time. Now it's finally time to start painting the guns. I started off with a base coat of my absolute favorite rattle can color, which is Krylon Metallic Oil Rubbed Bronze. Now, as much as I enjoy screen accuracy, I decided to just sort of play around until I found a finish that I liked. With the base coat dry, I moved on to airbrushing the purple tip, butt, pommel? The bottom of the gun. I spent quite a while building up thin airbrush coats of this blue-purple color-changing paint. The finish is definitely not coming across on camera as amazing as it looks in real life, but this actually turned out to be one of my favorite details. It gave it this like heat-oxidized steel look that really adds depth to the model. Once the purple was done, I moved on to painting blue in the recessed lines by just using some really watered-down powder blue and then wiping away the excess on top, and just leaving the blue in the lines to dry, and it ends up giving it this really nice verdigris kind of effect, which I like. Now, I could have stopped right here. This finish actually looks really cool. It's this nice like halfway between this sci-fi silver and the brown of the screen accurate props. The blue and the purple with that oiled bronze just looks so cool, but I really felt like it needed just a little bit of weathering to bring out some of the highlights on the edges. So I decided to just start dry brushing some faint scratches with just a little bit of gold rub and buff. And this is where things start to get a little out of hand. I really did intend to go way lighter on the gold finish and keep it a lot closer to that rubbed bronze look, but the more of the gold I put on, the more I really liked it. Especially when comparing them side by side, I just really feel like that gold brought a ton of visual interest to it. It's at this point that I just decided I was going to lean into this and call it a stylistic choice. Finally, with literally like 10 minutes before we had to leave for the party, and the rub and buff already out, I decided to add one little extra detail to the costume by throwing together a quick and dirty version of Daniel Jackson's Raw pendant from the Stargate movie. Like, literally no one got this reference but me, but I thought it was worth doing. And with that finished, I think the final chevron is locked. I gotta say, for less than a week's worth of work, I think this costume turned out phenomenal. The patches look great, and I could not be happier with this Zat gun. I mean, I may have gone a little bit overboard on this finish, but I just love this brushed brass, brushed bronze sort of look to it. It might be a stylistic choice on my part, but I regret nothing. This looks fantastic. Now, I won't be selling these, but I do sell the blueprints for the Stargate and the SGC file for the Zap gun on Etsy at Vault 1313. So if you want to get one or both of those, head there and you can get your own copy. In the meantime, I'm gonna go play with my new toy, and you enjoy some finished footage. Pew pew. See you next time.